Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show, and without questions, I do not have a show. This is for April 2023. Today I've got a few questions, one video question. Couple things I want to start out with at the top. First off, thank you all who are subscribers to my channel. Everybody starts with please like and subscribe. I don't do that much. I do it sometimes at the end of this show because it's the traditional ending of a show. But when you get 50 minutes in, how many people actually make it to the end for that? So a lot of people put it up front. Please like and subscribe. They put it all everywhere. I have not done that, believe it or not. Most of my videos don't have please like or subscribe. I forget to use the YouTube little boxes that you can have at the end of the video. On most of my videos, I forgot to do that. It's just post-production stuff that I miss. I'm not your traditional YouTuber. Even though some of you probably don't think that. You probably think, no, he's pretty much a YouTuber. He gets it. I haven't been really good at promoting myself and using all the tools that YouTube has available to itself. But I'm trying different things, and I've been trying things for the last 7 years. So I want to thank everybody who's been part of my 7-year journey. I think I officially started YouTube in 2017. Even though I have a few videos from 2011, 12, 13, 14. It wasn't anything real. It was just me goofing around and putting it up on YouTube so I could watch myself playing songs. And that's how I was learning and how I was doing things. You know what I mean? I will tell you the last 7 years, I've learned a lot about my playing and how I play drums. And I've made a lot of changes in my playing to get better, I think, in some respects. A lot of my studio technique I always wanted because I wanted to be a studio musician. That was my goal in my 20s. I'm going to be a studio musician. And then I went to Nashville at 27 with a band called Saved by Grace. And I guess I was actually 26 when I recorded the album. And I learned I wasn't going to be a studio musician in Nashville. That's what I learned. That was the lesson learned. I did learn what it takes to be a studio musician, and I started working towards it. And I would say the next 12, 13 years, I spent trying to get sessions in town, working on little minor projects with people in town in New Jersey. And I did some recording. I recorded in New York City. I recorded in parts of Jersey. I was on that album, that Saved by Grace album. So I started trying to do it, but I couldn't make a living at it. And I definitely didn't have Jeff Porcaro chops or Steve Gadd chops or any of the other chops of any of the great session musicians that were out there. So being a session musician wasn't going to happen, but I always wanted to do it. So I kept aspiring to do that. By the time I moved to South Florida, I had a studio. The last year of New Jersey, and then we moved here in 2000. I had brought all my studio equipment with me, which was a couple ADATs and a board. And I had a bedroom in Coral Springs, Florida, where we lived. And I started doing some studio stuff in my bedroom with friends. I found some new musician friends. And we started recording some demos. And then all of a sudden, the demos turned into the master of my wife's album called Toward the Lamb, which there are links to on my channel page on YouTube. And I recorded my wife's album in a 11 by 11 bedroom and all over my house. So I had a couple various places we recorded in the house and a little bit at a friend's studio. And I used local South Florida musicians to do it. And I still didn't have the chops to be a studio musician. But every time you record yourself, you get to learn a little bit more about your playing. So when we moved here to Lake Worth area of Florida, what happened was I had a studio. I now have a 3-car garage converted studio. And I did more recording and more record projects. But I can actually tell you that my drumming from 2017 to today is when I really honed in on that studio chops things, because trying to play drum covers and trying to play the track like the drummer played it and really, really listening to get the parts, because I learn by ear. I'm not one of those guys that reads music to learn a part. I learn all my parts by ear. That's what I've been doing my whole life. Since I was a kid, I learned how to play drums playing by ear. So my ears are my greatest source for me learning the parts and getting the feels and the grooves. Anyhow, long and the short of all that, the last 7 years, I have honed in my studio chops where I think I'm playing better than I ever have in my whole life. Of course, I now have almost 50 years of experience playing, so, and I never stopped playing in that 50-year period, so I'm not one of those guys that played in my 20s, quit in my 30s, and started back up in my late 40s. I played continuously from 15 to today. So I've been playing almost 50 years. I'm not quite 65. Actually, I started when I was 10 in school band and playing snare drum and all that stuff. So technically, I've been playing drums for 50 years. Anyhow, long and short of it, I think my drumming's better than ever in a lot of respects, and a lot of it has to do with watching myself on YouTube. Well, the majority of my YouTube work, by the way, has been on the last 7 years, 2017 till today. And I've talked about my journey and how I got here, but the reason I'm bringing this all up is in 2018, when I had 250 subscribers on January 1st, and then all of a sudden I started my journey to 1,000 subscribers, which I hit in June of 2018. Since 2018, June of 2018, I have acquired 6,000 more subscribers. And I want to thank you all. I hit 7,000 last week sometime, or the end of the week last week somewhere. See, I don't even know where it was. But what I do know is this. I want to thank everybody that watches my videos and subscribes to my channel and enjoys my content. And what started out as being a place for me to watch my videos and learn how I play drums better, because you can learn by watching yourself and listening to yourself, I have found out that I actually help others learn drum parts. I've helped others be inspired to play drums. And for the most part, my YouTube experience has been a wonderful experience of meeting lots of great people. And I just want to say thank you to all the great people I've met. I'm not naming names today. It's not a shout-out show. It's just an acknowledgement of you know who you are, the people I've met in real life, the people I've met online life. You guys inspire me to do what I'm doing. And you guys think that this is all I do all day long. I really don't. My weekends are when I make videos, and the rest of the week I do my day job. I don't sit here and make videos all day. So, but I put a lot of videos out because I've learned how to make content. So today I have some questions around how I make content. You are going to meet some of the people that ask my questions today. And I've got some really good questions. Not a lot, a couple really good questions. So I want to thank everybody for 7,000 subscribers. I don't take it lightly. I do appreciate your input. All right, so let's jump in today to today's show. And the first question comes from Bob C. Bob C asked me this question, I don't know, must have been March 13th, it says. Can you do a video on the technique for the right hand eighth notes on the hi-hat like the song Boys Are Back in Town? Now, I'm not putting up the track Boys Are Back in Town, but you know, boys are back in town, boys are back in town. It's a shuffle. Back in town, boys are back in town. So it's a shuffle. It's not an eighth note. It's not a straight eighth note thing. It's a dotted eighth, 16th note, or an eighth note triplet thing. It's a shuffle, but it's a rock shuffle. And in actuality, when I did a cover of this, I went back and looked at my cover. What I was playing was quarter notes, and I was playing the figure, the dotted eighth, 16th figure on the kick drum. So it sounded something like... one, a two, a three, 1, 2, a 3. pushing the if you think of the figure of the song. Boys are backing down, boys are backing down, boom, down. It's got a little push. Boys are backing down, boom, down. Now you might be tempted to play it like this. Doing a shuffly dotted 8/16 groove on the hi-hat. But that's not what the groove is. It's a rock shuffle. And usually in a rock shuffle, it's more of a quarter note thing with the pushes. So that's the way I approach that song. And it takes some time to work on that. And where this all comes from for me is playing shuffles as a kid. One of the things that growing up in the 60s and 70s did was rock drummers of the 60s and 70s were heavily influenced by the big band drummers of the 40s and 50s, 60s into the 70s. So there's a natural swing in most of the great rock drummers from that era. There's a natural swing in their playing, be it Ringo, be it Charlie Watts, be it Keith Moon, be it John Bonham, Danny Seraphine. They all have a natural feel for that triplet to eighth note feel. That's one of the things that's missing in today's music, which is very much locked on a metronome and very much gridded to eighth notes, duple. Going back and forth between triplet and duple is something it takes somebody that learns straight duple, dot, 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 to do. It takes them a little bit more to get the feel of it. So the feel of that song is a rock shuffle. Boom, da-ga-ga, 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 da-ga-ga. And you've got to feel it. So you don't want to play it like 1 E on a 2 E on a 3 E. That's like a dotted 8/16. When I say dotted 8/16 in a 60s, 70s vibe, it's more of a 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. There's a little swing in there. So Bob, I hope that helped. That's the short lesson on Boys Are Back in Town. There is a drum cover. I'll try to put the drum cover in the description. So if you want to see me playing Boys Are Back in Town, you'll get an idea for what I tried to do with it. It's not a strict, it's always quarter note thing. I kind of felt it. You can feel the push. That's kind of what I did. So hope that helps. Thanks for the question, Bob C. My next question comes from Dave Pounds. And Dave asks the question, I'm not that familiar with YouTube, but how do you play songs without getting copyrighted? Just curious. All right. Let's put it this way. You post a video on YouTube that is not your own property, which means every drum cover I do for the most part is not my property. You get a copyright notice in your YouTube. So how do I deal with it? Here's how I deal with it so I don't get strikes. The first thing I do is I never post a video straight to public. I learned that lesson when I almost got my first copyright strike on 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. It was back in 2018. It was the Paul Simon version, and they immediately got ticked at me. And one almost gave me a strike for it. Took it down immediately. Tried pitch controlling it and changing the pitch. Still got it caught. Anyhow, I didn't play that video with the Paul Simon version of that video until about a year or two ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago it got released where I could actually release the video from 2018. So you can find my original video of me playing 50 Ways to the Paul Simon track now on my YouTube channel. It's some couple years back. I remember the day I released it, I saw one of the other guys on YouTube that I follow. He posted it, and I said, crap, if he can post it, I can post it. So I went and found my video. It was already left in YouTube, and I just turned it on. So I post everything to private. That's the first thing. Now, when I post it to private, I go back to YouTube Studio and see if it's blocked. Every once in a while, they're blocked. I have about 10 videos in the blocked can. I have it in a folder called blocked YouTube videos. It's private. Nobody can see it, only me. I go to it periodically, and every once in a while, they get released. When they get released, I put them in my folder, and I release them eventually. The last one that I remember doing that for was Have You Ever Been Mellow? Have You Never Been Mellow by Olivia Newton-John. I was asked to do an Olivia Newton-John song when she died last year. I did the cover. It couldn't be seen. The first month, it couldn't be seen. It was just blocked. And then the next, I went back and it said partially blocked. So I said, okay, partially blocked. I can release it. And then I released it, and then still nobody was watching it. And I think about 70 people have actually found Have You Never Been Mellow by Olivia Newton-John on my YouTube channel, and have watched my video. Sometimes partially blocked, you can't see everywhere in the world. I have a bunch of partially blocked videos. The last Billy Joel song I just did, New York State of Mind, partially blocked. Now, it was really blocked in Russia, so the Russian community can't see that video. But sometimes it's blocked in more than just Russia. It can be blocked in 10 or 15 or 20 countries. And if it's blocked in the United States or Europe, probably I'm not going to get very many views. So that's what I've learned. But YouTube and copyright, you're going to have to deal with copyright. Now, how do you deal with it? I just told you. I put everything as private. And every once in a while, I do a video and I can't release it. So it seems like a waste of time. And if you spent your whole weekend working on one video and then you post it and you can't show it to anybody, that'll bum you out fast. And it usually is very popular videos, too, that they block. So I got to tell you, Dave, just don't get discouraged. Now, the amount of videos I have and the amount of videos I've posted, for the most part, it's not even 1% of all the videos I have. So since it's not 1% of all the videos I have, I just keep making lots of videos. That's how it works. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. So that's the answer to the question. That's how I deal with it. And every once in a while I lose. I've lost a bunch the last couple months. There's been about 3 or 4 songs I've done that I can't release. I don't cry over it. It's like, I can't release it. It's in that video folder, and then one day it gets released, and I go, okay, I can release it today, and I release it. So I get an extra video, and that's how I look at it. So hopefully that helped give you a little bit of the copyright. There are people that have methods for checking this out. I don't follow these methods. Some people will actually take the song from YouTube, maybe do like a screen recording of it, and then upload the song to YouTube on their channel. And if it immediately gets blocked, then they know not to do it. That just seems like a lot of wasted time for me. So that's not how I deal with it. All right? So thanks for asking, Dave. All right, the next question. The next question comes from my friend Laurie Jones. He was talking about just buying a new drum kit, actually a snare drum, Premier Calabria Black Lacquer 5x14. Premier wood snare drum in good condition. He's trying it out. He said, question, clear or coated heads, what's your preference? Now, I assume he's talking about snare drums, but my preference for snare drums is almost 99% of the time coated. Now, what coated head I'm going to use depends on what I'm into. My favorite coated head of all time is the Remo Control Sound coated head. So it's a CS dot on the bottom, coated ambassador top. Now they make a CS Emperor head, and they make a CS X head, which is an extra thick head. I've tried all the CS heads. My favorite is still the Control Sound dot head. I've been playing it for 30-something years, pretty faithfully. That's my go-to, I'll call it. That's my go-to drum head. Now, I also have plenty of ambassadors. Coated ambassadors are another head I use a lot of. And the other heads I've used can vary from Evans, like different Evans heads. I'm not a particular fan of an Evans G1 for a snare drum. I am a fan of the G2 for toms, but not a G1. Sorry about that. I was feeling a little parched. I've got this head on my Noble Cooley right now, which is an SD dry head, and I've been playing the UV1 heads on my toms, on my toms and my bass drum on my Gretsch kit, my walnut Gretsch kit. Love them a lot. When it comes to toms, I've tried just about every head there is. I like on the Gretsch kit, double-headed Gretsch kit, usually coated heads, coated ambassadors, coated vintage ambassadors, coated emperors, the UV1s, the G2s coated. Love the sound of those heads. Occasionally, I will try clear emperors. I've had clear ambassadors on these toms, the concert toms. I've had clear emperors, clear ambassadors, and now I've got clear pinstripes on these toms. I've really been digging the pins. They've been on about a year. It's almost time to change heads, but I've got some travel plans this year, so I'm kind of holding off on heads and making do with them and tuning them up and dealing with them. But I am looking forward to getting a fresh set of heads sometime, probably by the fall, for these drums. I bought those UV1s a while ago. I have, my heads aren't so terrible that I can't put the old clear ambassadors back or the clear emperors. I've just been digging the pins. They still sound good. So, but every once in a while I want to get a change. When it comes to kick drum heads, I love EMAD heads. Right now I've got an EMAD UV1 on my Gretsch drum. On this drum I've got a Power Sonic bass drum head, which has got to be replaced. It's got a little, one of the layers has been, I got tape on it right now. But I do have an Evans, I think it might be a clear G2 hanging around for a 22 that I got to put on this drum one of these days. This drum, it's not as critical because this kick drum is pretty much a 70s kick with a big hole in the front head, so it doesn't really matter that much. But that's it, Yuri. That's what I like, Yuri. So thanks for asking, Yuri Jones. So thank you so much. My next question comes from my friend 11 Drums. His name's Toby. Great sub. Watches almost every video I have. He had a question. He goes, why is your bottom side cymbal from your hi-hat on top? And he was looking at this pair of hi-hats. Now, let's talk about this. So this is for the last year and a half, I've been playing this combination a lot. Not always, because you all know I do change things up periodically. But when you see the 505 bottom, medium bottom, on the top, it's usually on top of a 2000 regular sound edge hi-hat. Now, here's the story. The story goes like this. In 2021, I really wanted to get a set of 14-inch or 15-inch sound edge 2002 hi-hats. Didn't have the cash, or I didn't want to lay it out. Depends on how you look at that one. Let's just say I didn't want to lay it out. So I went on Reverb one day, and then this bottom cymbal was available. And it looked really nice. And I said, wow, it's nice. There was no top for it. It was $100. $110 with shipping. 1,112 grams of sound edge bottom, 14-inch sound edge bottom. So the first hi-hat cymbal I put on top of this was a 505 medium. And the 505 medium medium top hi-hat didn't really work well with this. It just didn't have the right bite to it. So I was goofing around, and I did a video on my hi-hat cymbals that day, and it's out there on YouTube somewhere. I forget the name of it. And just for yucks, I put the bottom cymbal on top. And when I did that, one of my subs said, that sounds pretty good. You need to try that. Now, what I found out is this cymbal bottom is 990 grams. This bottom is 1112 grams. And if you get a pair of 14-inch Sound Edge 2002 hi-hats, you're probably going to have a bottom cymbal somewhere in the 1100 gram range, and your top cymbal is going to be somewhere close to 1000 grams. So maybe 900 and something, like this is 990, this is close to 1000 grams. So this is kind of almost mirroring a 2002 14-inch Sound Edge hi-hat sound. And I went for it, and had a nice chick, had a nice sound to it. I really dug it. But me being me, I got a bottom cymbal here that goes to my 505s that I play sometimes. Maybe I need to look for a 2000. So I did. So about 6-7 months later, I found a 2000, Paiste 2000. This was a sound reflector Sound Edge top. So this was designed to go with a sound reflector 2000 cymbal, 14-inch bottom. I thought, well, it'll probably work with the regular. They got to be close, right? These don't sound good either. This is about 893 grams. It's about 100 gram difference from the others, from my bottom cymbal. And I put it on, and it was just as weak sounding to me as my 505 top. And I wasn't digging it. So I used it a little bit. I tried it, but it didn't really work for me. And I said, you know what? Back to the 505. So this has been pretty much the pair of cymbals I use in here all the time almost. And every once in a while it gets on the other kit. And I have 2 kits, so I like to have 2 sets of cymbals set up at all times. So this has been sitting on the rack waiting to be used somewhere. Well, about December of this year, I was goofing around one day and I pulled out my old Rudes. And I've got a set of 14-inch Rude hi-hats from 1984. My wife bought them for me. And here's the Rude bottom cymbal. And this cymbal is 1168 grams. 1168 grams. It's heavy, but it's about as heavy as this bottom cymbal. So I said to myself, you know what? Let's try a different top. And I took the old, because my old Rude 14 top, by the way, has been keyholed to the point where it moves around because it's so keyholed inside the on the clutch. Didn't like it. So I said, let me try a different cymbal. I tried I've used the 505 medium on it. It works, sounds fine. But then I put this on it. And all of a sudden, I don't know, the cymbals, they came alive. So this has become my other set for the last 3 months. 2000 top sound reflector with a Rude bottom. Now, the sound reflector Paistes, according to Terry Keating, I'm not an expert at this, but I am an expert. I have giant beat cymbals in my collection. The lathing is kind of like the lathing of a giant beat, and so is the profile a little bit. So it's got some interesting hammering in it, and it's totally different than the regular. The regular is more like somewhere between a 505 and a 2002. So that might be part of the problem. So these never really worked together for me, but this with the Rude does work, and this with the 505 bottom works great. So that's the answer to the question. So what I would say to people, and I've been asked this question a lot of people like this hi-hat combination. What I say to people is, it's a special hi-hat combination I put together myself. Paiste's not going to make this for you. You can't even get these cymbals, so try things. The only way you figure if you like something is to try it. This really has some nice bite to it, though. Really like these hi-hats. So anyhow, thanks for the question, Toby. I hope I answered it. By the way, there was another guy that asked the same question. It was Stylianos Berquitos. I don't know where he's from, Stylianos Berquitos. But he asked the same thing. What model Paiste hi-hats? That was the ones. Am I using? It's the 14-inch 505 medium bottom over the 2000 regular sound edge bottom. Sounds great. All right. Okay, my last question is going to come from my friend Jim Wege, Freedom Music Factory, and here is the question.
Hey Earl, it's Jim with Freedom Music Factory. It's time for Ask Earl Anything. Hey Earl, we're here with my drums here, and we've got KSM 32 mics, SM81s over here, and we got these Earthworks overhead. We're going into SSL pre's. We're using API, and we're also using Neve. So that's what we're using to get my drum sounds. But your drum sounds sound great. So I'd like to know what you're doing on your toms. I'd like to know what you're doing on your snare drum and what you're doing on your cymbals, because they all sound great post-production. So let us know. Give up your tricks. Come on, Earl. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim, for the great question. This may be a two-part answer. I'm going to start by talking about this, and I may show you a few things if I get really ambitious with screen record on my Mac. So my drum kits are made up of microphones I have collected over the last 20-something years of doing recording. Now, the concert tom kit in Studio B has got us a pair over my head that you can't see of Octava MC012 condenser, Russian-made condenser microphones. That is my overhead mics. They are going into a Presonus Studio, what do they call it? They call it Studio, oh my God, there's a name for it. Goes into the Presonus Studio board. It's the with the 24 by 4 by 2 board, and it's using those preamps. Now the other kit's got different preamps. I'll get into that in a second. Now for my toms today, and by the way, over the years this changes, but right now I've been kind of into like condenser mics on the toms in here. I've had these two C1000 microphones. They were my first overhead microphones for my first studio. I'm using them on my toms for the 10 and the 12. And I've got an Octava 319, MK319 microphone over the 14 and 16-inch tom. Inside the 15-inch floor tom, which is really a hanging tom, 12 by 15 hanging tom, I've got a Audio-Technica Pro 25, which is a dynamic microphone. Inside my kick drum, I've got a D112, and my snare drum's got a good old 57. I use 8 microphones on this kit. I use 8 microphones on that kit. They're always set up, and they're always ready to go. This does change depending on if I'm doing a recording session and we want to get a under the snare sound strainer. You want to get like the bottom, the bottom snares. I don't do that every time. I don't even care to do it every time. Matter of fact, I was watching a video yesterday from, I forget who the engineer was, but the drummer was the guy who played with Beck. He had a Pearl concert tom kit, Joey Waneker. And I think that's how you say it, Joey Wonker or Waneker. Anyhow, he was doing this video for Loughton Audio. And the engineer on the session goes, yeah, I have this mic here on the bottom snares. I don't use it. It's just there. So he records it, like he records room mics and everything. I don't need all that for a drum cover. I've learned for a drum cover, these two overheads, 4 tom mics, a kick and a snare is fine. Every once in a while I could add a hi-hat mic, but I don't really need it, so I don't. Everything is going through the studio board, the Presonus Studio Mix board, Mix Live. I can't believe I can't remember the name of the Studio Live. Studio Live, that's what it is. It's Presonus StudioLive 24 by 4 by 2 board. Everything's going through those Presonus preamps right now. Now, Gretsch kit in the other room. Gretsch kit in the other room has got, for the most part, it's got a set of E604 Sennheiser mics, 3 of them. And then the variable mic, if I have a 4th tom, will either be an E609 guitar amp mic that I have. It could be an SM57, or it could be a Sennheiser MD421. I've got a couple extra mics hanging around. My kick drum mic is almost always, for the last 5 years, a Beta 52 on that kick drum. This one's got the D112, that's got the Beta 52. Snare mics are almost always 57s. My overheads on the kit in the other room is an SM81. Two SM81s in a coincident pair, just like these are coincident pair. This pair is literally right over top of my kick, snare, and toms. It's like it's a little bit back behind and facing the toms. The other one is coming this way over the toms, so it's coming from the front. Those mics are going through some boutique pre's besides the Presonus board. So the kick drum is going into an API, a 7-circle audio API pre. The snare could be going through a 7-circle audio N72 pre, and my overheads are going through John Hardy J99 pre's. The magic of my drum sound is literally the plugins I use. And the plugins I use vary based on, well, actually they don't vary at all. My plugins that I use are the plugins I use for almost every session. And there are starting point plugins. So I'm going to go, and what I'm going to do to finish this is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to show you a screenshot of my plugins, maybe give you a sound of some drums, and give you a little bit. I do have a tutorial on how I use the plugins I use for my drum sounds. So you're really getting the secret sauce on this Ask Earl Anything.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through my plugins and that I use on a typical recording session. Now, this was done in Studio A. This is for the song Don't Take Me Alive by Steely Dan. So it's got the Gretsch toms, the maple toms with the Gretsch walnut bass drum. My main 3 plugins for kick drum are the UAD Neve 88RS. It's always on everything. I don't really touch anything on the EQ settings. I do pull in the gate or not the gate sometimes, and I mess with the gain a little bit. I do a little bit of carving in the parametric EQ in Logic using the punchy kick starting point, and then I use the UAD transient designer to kind of get punch or fatness. And that's pretty much how I do it. A lot of times when I'm taking out that middle frequency, somewhere between 100 and 400, I'm bringing that in. I'm usually trying to suck some of the nasty snare that gets into the kick mic. Now the snare drum channel, again, it starts with the refresh snare plugin starting point on the parametric EQ. Then I drop in the UAD Pultec Pro EQP 1A Legacy. I do a lot of dialing in on attenuation and boost of the frequency. The bottom ones is the lower side of the frequencies, and the top, the boost, is the higher side, somewhere in the 4K range. And basically what I'm doing is dialing in that snare buzz, popping it out, and then I'm also attenuating it. And that's how I get that perfect snare sound. I do this for every song. I change it up for every song, so it's never the same. It's always being played with. Now, when we look at my overhead channel, my overhead channel is going to start with an EQ. I'm going to cut out most of the kick drum. I'm going to pull the nasty section of the snare drum in the room out. So it's going to be flat. Mostly I'm taking out, not putting in. And I also use the Pultec EQs again for shaping the sound of the overheads a little bit. And I use a little compression, which is the Ren compressor. By the way, I use the Ren compressor for the snare drum as well. That's to taste, and it's always being played with. These are my starting points. Once I get through the starting points of that, then you get to the toms. And my tom starting point is going to be different. What I do is I start all my toms with the EQ setting of Logic, which is either high tom, mid tom, low tom. Those 3 tom EQs are starting point. I will play with the EQ. It comes with the compressor that I rarely touch in Logic, and my secret sauce to toms is the Oxford drum gate, which right now you're not seeing on screen. What you're seeing is the empty channel, but I eventually kick in the drum gate for channel 2, tom 2, 3, and 4, and then you'll start to see how it actually works. There's a couple simple levers on the left and the right. You set your transients, you set it to a tom, it eventually finds the peaks. And I don't do a lot of messing with detection and decay. Every once in a while it's that nasty that I do, but truthfully, once I've got this setting set, which is what I've been using for a while, I either use Detect Boomy toms or Vintage T-Towel toms. Vintage T-Towel toms works best on double-headed drums. Believe it, not the concert toms. The concert toms like the Detect Boomy toms. The Boomy toms are usually not the setting I use for the double-headed drums. But that can be, I can break that rule too just as easily as anything else. So all this to say is that's the magic of my plugin settings in Logic. I have a reverb. I use a UAD EMT 140 plate. I use the Ren reverb from the Renaissance collection of Waves as a gated, and I also use the sampling reverb from Logic and on a snare plate. And the last thing is what it all runs through, the mix bus, as it's called. I use the UAD Precision Bus Compressor. This is the other secret sauce here, is the UAD Ampex ATR 102 tape simulator, which is awesome, and the Oxford inflator. And the last thing is I have a limiter on the back end of it. It's the UAD Precision limiter. So this is how I get my drum sound. So I hope this helps.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the great question, Jim Waggy at Freedom Music Factory. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're coming to a close of Ask Earl Anything. Couple things before we close. This month, this next week coming up, when this will be released, it's close to Easter. We're going to be doing some more CCM covers. I've got some 70s classic CCM covers I'm doing. More videos I hope to share of other artists, and keep breaking it up the way I do in different genres of music. I appreciate you all. I want to thank you all for watching my show. I want to thank everybody that asked a question. Check out Jim Waggy's channel. Okay? He's a great drummer, and it's definitely worth the time to check out his channel and what he does. Everybody, thank you for watching Ask Earl Anything. Thank you for being subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, please like and subscribe. That's where I normally say that. Everybody, have a great day. Stay happy. Remember, life's short. Enjoy life. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.